So hi everybody, my name is Purti Chawla. I'm the manager here at Leverage Edu. And today we have a rather special guest here, and this is Sanjana. So she is a student, and like everybody here, she's also an aspirant for IELTS. So she's planning to take IELTS soon and then start with her study abroad journey. So let's just all welcome Sanjana. Hi everybody. So Sanjana, if you could just quickly introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sanjana Pillai, as Purti has mentioned earlier. So I will be writing my IELTS exam at the end of the month, and I have been working with Leverage Edu for my application to universities abroad, as well as the IELTS classes that have been going on for about a month now. And I wish to pursue my master's in forensic and counseling psychology in the future, in September 2022 intake.
22, so that's the fall intake. And
Absolutely.
Which country are you planning to go to?
The United Kingdom.
Okay, so okay, let me get this straight. So you are planning for September 22,
Yes.
and you are done with your IELTS course. So almost 1 year prior, you're done with IELTS.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. Why this much gap?
So I will be completing my BA in applied psychology next April, May. And I know that the IELTS score is valid for 2 years now. And, you know, universities look for that. So when I'm applying to universities, they do need my IELTS score.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get it over with as soon as possible.
So, you know, I'd say, Sanjana, you have played very smartly over here. So, you know, because this is one part of your applications, there are so many other things that you do with your counselor. And of course, there are people to help you, but you need to have so many things on your application. So because it's a mandatory part of your application, so being, you know, just starting with it and preparing for it, even 1 year ahead is, I think, a very smart strategy. So like, cool. So, you know, I think sharing all of this also would help other students to understand, you know, how you are preparing for it. And this is a good tip to start off with, that it's not necessary that you have to wait until the, you know, right till the edge to take your exam, because anyway, it's a proficiency test. So it's about language. The more you do, the better you are going to get at it. So that's one thing, guys. So that's great. Okay, so Sanjana, let's start with, you know, how did you come to know about Leverage Life?
Right. So I was looking to, you know, apply to universities abroad, and I had told my parents about it, and everyone was on board, but we didn't know how to go about with the process. So I came across Leverage Edu by a counselor on Instagram who had stated that, you know, it's a rather good app and you should give it a shot. So that's how, you know, I came to know about the entire app and got to know that I can apply and give my application, and I can simultaneously, you know, prepare for the IELTS exam.
Yep.
That's how I got to know about it.
All right. So through social media, that's great. So I guess people here today are also, you know, getting accustomed to us and getting to know about us through it. So that's great. So, I mean, did you feel that you need to prepare it with somebody, or ever this thought came into your mind that you can do it alone, on your own?
The thought did come to mind, to be very honest, but I think when it comes to, you know, just giving such an important exam, it is very important to gain an expert's point of view, which I think is very necessary, because you can't just quote unquote wing it. You can't just, you know, read certain books and go, yeah, I know everything that is to be known. So I think it always helps to gain an expert's view on this.
And how would you, like, let's say if I ask you, how would you rate your language ability otherwise in general?
Out of 10?
Yeah.
I'd say I'm pretty good. So I'd give it an 8.5.
Okay. All right. So despite you being, let's say, an upper intermediate or bordering on advanced or even an advanced speaker, you still thought that, you know, it's great that you go for certain help. Okay. So, you know, it's not because, you know, having a certain, let's say, an upper hand or flexibility with the language does not guarantee necessarily higher band in IELTS, because then you are going around the exam, there's specifications, and, you know, there are certain criteria which they are checking you on. So you need to fulfill that as well, and you need to know how to go about doing it. All right. Okay. So Sanjana, you have joined then, you did join Leverage Live classes. So which batch did you join?
So I joined the evening batch of Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It was a 2-hour class on Mondays,
Okay.
Wednesdays, and Fridays.
And when was this? Do you remember?
I mean, it ended around August 10th, 12th. It lasted for about a month.
And now you are planning for taking the exam or writing it when?
At the end of this month.
All right. So then 6 weeks of these classes, and then you have some gap, and now you're going to take the exam in this month, in the next fortnight.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you also preparing for the exam post your classes?
Yes,
Self-preparation?
definitely. Absolutely. It's a must.
Okay.
So,
Yes. Okay. So after the intensive guidelines and practice in the class, then you are also self-preparing for it in practice.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk about the classes, and even before that, once you realize, okay, this is the structure or the format of the exam, did you feel that there was any area or module that you really needed to work on or you were good at?
Yes. So when I went through the exam, I mean, I looked at what are the 4 sections that are there in the exam, and when we took the classes, I realized that the writing section is something that I need to focus on a little more as compared to speaking or listening or reading, because according to me, the writing section is a bit more on the trickier side of the overall sections in IELTS. So I think writing is something I had to focus on. Compared to that, listening and speaking were rather easy.
All right.
Much easier.
Okay, so let's take one by one section wise, and let's see if we can also answer some questions here. 1 second. So Gustav, to answer your question, you're saying, is English only English aptitude test is IELTS? No, there are others as well. For UK, she's planning to take admission in a UK university, so hence she went for IELTS. Okay, somebody has their IELTS exam tomorrow. Yay!
All the best.
Yes, so let's start with speaking. So any sort of tips that you learned in the class or you want to give to them?
Yes, I think one is that the speaking section of IELTS, I mean, we've done a mock and everything. So once you go through certain questions, it's about your regular life, right? So questions like, what are your hobbies? Do you cook? Do you listen to music? So when it comes to questions like that, never memorize the answer. Because when we do memorize the answer, their entire motive is to check if you can speak in English and you can speak, with the localites there. So when you do go in with a memorized answer, with no flair, with no emotion, with no highs and lows in your voice, it can come across as very robotic.
Yep.
Which just never helps, because they think that you'll have to memorize just for an exam. How will you deal with, individuals whose first language is English?
Correct.
So that's one. Second would be to never, I'm repeating never too much, so I won't say that. Don't put on an accent when you're speaking, which is what I had a confusion, because some people did put on an accent, some people didn't put on an accent. It's not required.
Yeah.
It's just, just speak with our accent, no matter which accent that is. And I think the third would be to always connect your sentences, right? So let's say they do ask us, do you like to cook? Yes, I like to cook. And then you go about saying, yeah, but my favorite song is this. There is no connection between the sentences, and to not go back on what you said. So let's say a question was asked and I say, no, I don't like cooking. But then I go, oh, sorry, I forgot, I actually do like cooking. So to not go back on what you said, once you stick to an opinion, either craft a lie and just go about with the flow. Don't go back to what you said previously. is
Okay.
what I'd say. So a couple of pointers. Yeah.
Yeah, and to add to what you're saying, so even if, let's say, you have to go back or you realize that while speaking, okay, probably I don't have much more to speak, then you can show a contrast in some other manner. So let's say if I say, yes, not really, cooking is not my cup of tea. Although, I have recently started training in it. My mother is giving me certain classes. I'm looking at some YouTube videos and trying to. So there's a very specific way of how you can contradict yourself. Yeah, so using the linkers and cohesive devices.
Yeah.
But of course, like you rightly pointed out, it has to come out naturally.
It has to come naturally. Yeah.
Right. So if you memorize answer, they would be able to get to you.
Figure it out.
They're trained examiners.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. How about the time management in speaking? So because speaking part 2 is where you have to speak for 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that you can tell them around this part?
Yeah, so the speaking part where you do have to speak for 2 minutes, you get 1 minute of preparation, right? So they give you a note wherein you can write your keywords and what you're planning to talk about and things like that. So in that, it always helps to elaborate your point as much as possible, and that applies to the entire speaking section, because they may ask you a question, but you may only have a single line to reply, and that's not what we want, right? They need to know that you can speak in English, so you have to stretch out your answers. And the second thing that always have me is to relate it with a personal experience. So I'm not great at lying. I can't really make up a story on spot. So if I were to be asked a question, I will link it to something that's happened to me or to my friend or to my parents or something like that, because it's easier for me to speak about it as well.
Correct. So you end up giving answer to the point as well. You're not digressing from the topic. You're elaborating on what you're saying. That acts as a supporting argument as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so like some questions are coming. Should we take a pause while answering, or should it be quick?
No, you should definitely take a pause. I get that you're in a hurry, or because you're worried, or because you're nervous, we tend to speak, faster than normal. But please take a pause, know when to stop, breathe, just go at your regular pace.
Right. This is important, otherwise students speak at such a fast pace that ends up troubling their fluency and coherence as well. So these guys, of course, they're testing you in time conditions, but they don't want you to just go on and on pouring one thing after the other. They are expecting you to speak naturally. Whatever criteria that they are checking you on, all of it boils down to this: how natural you are, what sort of range you have naturally.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Just looking at some more. So Ruturaj is asking, what were the things you thought you knew but didn't or could have messed up if not prepared for? This could be Pan IELTS, any section.
Yeah, this could be any section, but okay, one thing I didn't know, and this was about the writing section, is to never use idioms. I didn't know, it's an absolute no-no. And I learned about it in IELTS. I learned about a lot of things, but this really took me aback, because I tend to use idioms and tend to use phrases that I would use in, while speaking. So that I definitely learned that. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about reading as well. That also is kind of like one major area where students face an issue with. Right. So basically you have 3 passages and you get your answers from those passages for academic students. So how do you feel about the reading part of the module?
For me, the reading part is, relatively easier. I do have to focus on the time management aspect of it. But other than that, there are just a few questions that are tricky, but it's pretty manageable, actually. It's not that hard.
So when I talk about time management, so any tips that you can give them to how to go about doing it?
Yeah. So, of course, there are various sections in the reading part, but the first section, which is you need to select a few words that fit in, with the sentence structure, is always the easiest. If you've gone through the reading section and if you've attended a few classes or you know about IELTS, it is the easiest section. So to always go with the easiest section first, right? That's one. Two, if you're stuck on any question, just move on. Immediately move on, because there is a rather short span of time, and you need, anyway, you have to skim through the text, right? So don't focus on that. And I know it can get rather demotivating, and it can really irritate you, because you go, I'm stuck. What do I do? What do I do? But you have to move on. And once you're done with this set of questions, maybe if you have time, you can get back to it. But that's so definite, to not get stuck on one question.
Definitely. So suppose out of 40 questions, you get, let's say, even 30 or 28 in one go, do those, and then you will have ample time to get back to it, because you've not wasted any time earlier.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people start backwards, starting with the most difficult passage and then coming to it. I mean, it can work, there's no right or wrong when it comes to IELTS. It is about individual strategies and strengths as well. But personally, I wouldn't recommend it, because then it adds to the pressure. You end up reading a rather challenging test. You're not getting answers. Anyway, you have that hula around IELTS and taking the exam. So that, adds to the pressure. And of course, then, while you are preparing for it, you take test papers, you practice through full marks, so that you can, whatever strategy you learn, you can employ it and get better at questions. Okay. Okay, so what has been your routine for preparing the exam, and which section do you work on the most?
My routine, as soon as the classes got over, I, fix the time limit for each day, because again, a lot of us are students, a lot of us are working individuals who can't really, provide our 24/7 attention on that. So 1 hour, 1.5 hours a day, it's more than sufficient for you to go through all the rules and to know where to focus on. I focused on writing the most.
Okay, so then let's talk about writing now. Okay, a big issue for you. Why do you think that?
I mean, okay, I won't say it's a big issue, because I don't want to put that in my head. I just say it's a bit difficult. But something that occurs with writing is that you need to make sure that your language is formal, right? So that means no using contractions, which can be a bit of an issue, because when you're in that hurry to write, you may write can't, won't, shan't, which will not do. You will, your marks will be deducted. You need to know when to add linkers. You need to know when to elaborate on a particular point. You need to know how to paraphrase certain words, right? So all that, when you're writing the paper and you have to think and you have to go, no, this word doesn't sound formal enough. How do I improve it? That can cause a bit of stress, because you have to, go through your dictionary of vocabulary and go, which word suits this the best. So I think, those are a few issues that I faced while writing.
Okay, some things that has helped you to, go about writing your answers in the class, for especially the writing section.
Right. So the thing is that I made it a habit, if I can, say so, which is, let's say I find an interesting topic, or I find any topic for that matter that I want to, write on, especially for section 2. So in writing the two sections, section 1 and section 2, and section 2 is a section where we have to provide our opinion on it, right? So we need to elaborate as to why we support XYZ or why we're against XYZ opinion. So when it comes to matters like that, I took topics beforehand where I found it a bit tricky, but I was like, I must, go through it and maybe show it to, either you or an English teacher or anyone who is very, very familiar with the language, so that, I have that constant form and I get it constantly. The, what is the right use of language and which words work where and so on.
All right, that's great. And finally, coming to listening. So how do you feel about the listening section?
I mean, the listening section is the most scoring of them all, because it's just one audio that's playing, and according to the audio, you have to answer the questions.
Correct.
Now, again, when it comes to that, there are certain things that we do need to keep in mind, because there is a part where questions are asked, but we should mention only 1 or 2 words, right? And instead of writing a number, let's say 25, we'll write it as TWENT, and we'll start writing the whole form, right? Which can again cost us a lot, because we shouldn't, cross that certain limit.
Correct.
Second is, if you're not used to that accent, which is the English accent or the American accent, it always helps to hear, audio beforehand. And I mean, actively hear it at a very slow pace, because if you are not at all used to the accent, it can take you aback while you're listening to it the first time. Sorry, I'm so sorry. And the third thing being, this is one section where you need to be extremely alert, because one word goes and you're not able to connect what is, going on. And to always, the thing is, before this give you an audio, they will mention a couple of instructions, right? So if you've heard that instructions before, what you can do is always go through the questions, because then you'll hear the answer and it'll automatically register, and you go, oh, this is the answer for question A, and you'll be very quick to fill it in. So that's saving you a lot of time as well.
And a lot of students find, like Santana is mentioning, that it is confusing, and it can be, to be very frank, it can be, because they are speaking in an accent which is not too heavy, but still, if you're not familiar with it, it can get confusing. They're speaking at a certain pace as well. So one, of course, is this targeted practice for IELTS, where you understand, okay, this is the conversation, a man or a woman is speaking, or one person is speaking. So these are the kinds of things I know. Then there are signposting words that you can hear. So they say next or now, let me tell you about this. So that acts as your hint as to, okay, now they're moving to the next point. Of course, the time before the audio is played is extremely crucial. It is key for you to understand the questions, because, we know the same words are not going to come. And having said all of this, not just for IELTS, otherwise also, if you listen to podcasts or movies, you will be able to acquire and absorb that language. I mean, it is like any other skill, right? The better, the more you do it, the more familiar you are with it, the better you will get at it. So, even if you're watching movies with subtitles, that is okay. Or, when you go listening to the IELTS recordings, after you listen to it, there's also the script given to you at the back of the books and the PDF. So you can listen again and then start reading the text along with it. So you realize, okay, this is the word I missed. This is how they're pronouncing it. Understanding phonetics of, how they're pronouncing words or sounds, that also help you. But this is not something that you absorb or acquire in one day. Definitely not. So, which is why the fact that, like Sanjana also started early, that is helpful, because you would also understand, okay, this is where I'm lacking and this is how I have to improve it, and then do it. So you need that time for this improvement, really. And, the faster you start, earlier you start, it is better. Okay, so Sanjana, now you having done all the modules, you are planning to take it in September. Do you think now you feel confident with all the modules that you think you will be able to crack it and reach your target band?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the minimum for the university I'm applying for is 7. But I mean, I plan to aim for 8.59.
Yeah, I am also planning the same for you. Okay, I think we're going to get to it. I think because, you've understood the strategies, you are able to apply them as well. So I don't see an issue, of course. So, okay. Suraj, there's another question. How long would it take to prepare with 60-90 minutes a day for at least 7.5?
How many days it would take to prepare?
Yeah.
Just 1 hour a month is more than enough. Actually, if you've taken this IELTS class and you're preparing on your own, it's more than enough.
And, Ruturaj, to that, I'd also add that, let's say for Sanjana, her basics are okay. Yeah, her fundamentals are clear. Then because she's also a bit more higher than that. So for her, the time would be different.
Absolutely.
If you also have the same kind of language ability, it could be similar for you as well. But let's say for somebody whose basics are a bit hazy and they still need to work on that and then learn advanced structures as well. So it would take more time, as simple as that. I'm not going to beat around the bush and tell no, 1 month you will be able to do it. That's not how it works. Is that in 1.5 months, intensive practice and guidelines are given so that you use them and then you can self-prepare or self-practice and then take the exam. It's like always like that. Trisha is asking, should we study every day? Well, yes. I mean, some of the other language, and you don't really have to like sit down with a book, you can watch some movie, you can listen to some podcast, news, sports commentary, whatever your areas of interest are. So you're reading some blogs, books, if you want, just conversing with people around you, anything can work. You learn so much, especially in language, every day. So it's not just like you have to sit down with a book and all that. Okay. Sanjana, they're asking, how much did you score in your last English exam?
In my boards or in college?
Probably, Apurva, if you could.
I mean, yeah, it's a flex, so 93.
That's great. Okay, I mean, like, people, I'm telling you, she's already, at an upper intermediate advanced level, but she knows despite all of that, she had to work on certain areas. So again, I think somebody also asked, that's never a guarantee if you feel that, your level of English is okay or otherwise. Okay, so how much challenge is it for preparing for listening? So I think, who's asking this? Prasad, I guess it is you. So see, again, if you feel at present, you are unable to follow the conversation, you miss out on words, you're not able to understand the entire sentence. So that means you're at an average level. So if you listen to something or the other every day, and let's say both in British, American, or let's say Canadian, Australian, different kinds of accents, you will get better at it. But there's no shortcut, like that, or people say there's a shortcut. It's not like that. There's no trick as such to get to it. It's just the strategies to facilitate your learning, to help you understand this is how to approach the task and how to answer to whatever they are expecting of you. So, I mean, okay, so Sanjana, in general also, let's say for reading skills, apart from IELTS reading, is there any other kind of reading for pleasure or otherwise that you do?
I do. I mean, I absolutely love to read. I'm a huge bibliophile. So it just helps. There are many people who don't like reading at all. So even reading a book can get really tedious. So you don't have to start there. I mean, it can just be a small segment in the newspaper. So read it and maybe check how much time you take to read it, or to maybe just skim through it. And if you can understand the basic details of it and you're able to, tell it to someone, all the details. So that would also help, because it just means that you've understood what's being said in the newspaper and you're able to converse it. So that helps with both your reading as well as your, speaking skills.
Absolutely. Because, in IELTS also, when it comes to, let's say, match the heading questions, where you give a title to each paragraph, it's not based on 1 or 2 sentences or 1 or 2 words. It's based on the idea behind that paragraph. So if you just understand the gist, you will be able to choose the correct heading. So there are different kinds of reading skills that you develop. Reading for gist, reading for specific information. A lot of questions on IELTS are based on that. So it is, like Gayatri, you're asking, what's the way to improve it? Is to read, and, targeted reading. So let's say some paragraphs, like Sanjana mentioned, newspaper articles, you're just skimming through it, glancing through it, not to understand every detail, but the overall theme. or the idea behind it. For some paragraphs, you are, let's say, going deeper into it, reading each sentence to identify, okay, these are the advantages they are giving, these are the dates, they are showing a contrast. So all of that helps you in your IELTS reading as well. All right, so I think, Sanjana, I'd like to thank you for coming here and telling the students about your experience and how the classes have helped you and all that you have learned in IELTS. You are yet to take the exam, but I mean, I know you're going to crack it and, pass it with flying colors. Yeah. And of course,
Definitely.
We'll get in touch outside of this webinar as well.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
I hope everyone, it was a good and informative session. Thank you.
All right, guys. So that's all from Sanjana. So I'm just letting you know a couple of details before we end, which are, about the classes. So you see that one, of course, if you feel that you're lacking in English abilities, definitely you need that guidance and support and help. And one, if you feel that you are capable of it or you understand most of it, you just need strategies quickly to deal with the exam pattern and structure and understand how they are expecting you to answer. So in order to cater to all of this, there are these different courses that Leverage Live is presenting to you. So there are the regular batches. I think that's what Sanjana also joined, the evening batch, which is 3 days per week. And this goes on for 6 weeks, so 1.5 months. So either you go for Monday, Wednesday, Friday batch, or you can go for the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday batch. Or in case you want the 4-week course, that's the morning one. So it's from 9 to 10:30, which is Monday to Friday. And, those of you who want to prepare for it quickly, there's also an option for that, which is the fast track module. So it's a 2-week course, Monday to Friday. The time is 2 to 3:30. And in all the batches, irrespective of which course it is, all of these things are helped with. So, I mean, I want to stress on the interactive sessions with the experts. So like on the Leverage Live portal, you'd have your classes. These are online classes with the exam, the trainer on one side, the expert on one side, and you on the other. These are batch classes, definitely. And it happens on our own Leverage Live portal with the video, with the PPT facility, chat box. You will be able to speak as well. So there's the audio video button there as well. And you'll get your own dashboard. So every day you'll get to know your entire schedule of classes there. All the supplementary material is already uploaded. So the Cambridge tests, the sectional tests, full mock tests, study material for you. So vocabulary, sample answers for writing, reading, speaking, as well as listening. Supplementary content also provided for the trainer. There are WhatsApp groups made, and they keep sending it on them. And whatever you are doing, so let's say be it reading, so there's a question being done, you solve it there in the class, you give your answers, everybody gives, and they gets it checked by the trainer, and then you discuss, where did you go right, where did you go wrong, what is something that you missed, or what can you work on, how to improve that question, and how do you go about improving that skill. Yeah, so these are interactive sessions, and you are free to get in touch with the trainer outside of the class as well. And even after the batches are over, you don't just stop your interaction. You can always get back to the trainer, to the expert with your doubts, or submit answers for writing or speaking, so that you can record the audio and send it as well. And of course, each question, each module is dealt with separately in either of the batches, regular or fast track. With fast track, things are done a bit more quickly, but otherwise everything is covered. And in IELTS, especially in the writing and the speaking sections, questions are repeated. So what is going on recently from our other students, or otherwise from our sources, we do keep a check on what is going on at present in your tests, and those questions are also shared. So you also get to understand which kinds of questions are they giving you, at the moment, whenever you're planning to take it. So that is also frequently updated. And the faculty is also, of course, certified, no doubt about it, and experienced. So despite the fact that you are in a batch class where the batch size is not too much, the faculty ensures that, because we understand it's a very personalized individual exam as well. So the faculty ensures that they are interacting with you, and for each and every student, they understand what are the loopholes and what are the strengths and work on it. So we have shared these links with you. So there's a 60% discount going on at present. All you need to do is either you can log on to the website, put in these discount codes and enroll for the batch, or you can use this phone number to speak to us. New timings, new batches are also beginning soon. So like morning one, tomorrow one is beginning, in the afternoon, day after, evening ones also by 13, 14 new batches are beginning. So feel free to contact these people to find out, if when the new batch is beginning, and whichever time is suitable and convenient for you, you can go for it. Apart from IELTS, we also have this speaking club, which is only based on accuracy as well as fluency of speaking. So vocabulary, grammar, and just speaking, so in a club, there are a handful of people where you all come together with the trainer, and on different topics and ideas, vocabulary is also provided, grammar structures are also looked into, so that both accuracy and fluency is built up. So you can again call up on the same number and find out about this as well. By the third week or middle of this month, there's another batch beginning. So you can also go for it. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for this session. Sanjana, thank you again for coming and telling so much about your prep. All the best to everybody who's here. Okay, guys, so keep watching this space for more webinars, and I know I'm going to see a lot of you in the class. So see you there. Thank you so much.